I'm recording this now for posterity, in case anybody else who's not on this wants to listen to this in the future. And I will send you guys a link to it when we're done. So we are here to talk about data. Let me start by saying that what is going to be asked of you specifically in regards to data is not entirely clear at this point. So last year, what the California College Pathways Funders Collaborative did was request data from colleges in order to issue a report called Charting the Course. Has anybody seen that report?
No, I haven't.
Okay. Yeah, actually.
Have you seen it?
I'm going to go ahead and, can you guys see my screen?
Yeah. It's called Charting a Course.
Yes.
All right, for some reason our website's not working. That's okay. I'm going to just show you what Charting the Course looks like. It's on our website, which for some reason is not loading properly at this moment. So this is the report that came out in October of last year called Charting the Course. And basically, it walks through various sort of baseline data about foster youth from the different colleges that participate in California College Pathways or who receive funding. So you can see here, this chart on this page shows the percentage of foster youth who placed into remedial coursework. There's some other ones. You know, I'm getting a lot of noise. I don't know if other people are hearing the noise on this. Maybe if you guys are hearing
Yeah. And I'm having a hard time hearing you now. It's sort of breaking up a little bit.
Do you think maybe if everybody is not talking mutes, it might help?
Yeah, maybe if everybody wants to go ahead and mute yourself.
Okay, now I'll go ahead and do mute.
Okay. Does that sound better to folks? You know, there's a chat. You just muted yourself, so I realize you can't answer. Down at the bottom of your control panel, there's a chat. And so if you want to be able to say something to me without having to unmute yourself, you can use that little chat box at the bottom. It sounds better to me, so I'm going to assume it sounds better to you all as well. But go ahead and either unmute and tell me that that's not the case, or send me a chat if we need to try to figure out sound quality a little more. Okay, great. Sounds good over at Sherry's place. Awesome. So this next chart shows the percentage of foster youth who completed, whose first course was basic skills, who completed a transfer level course within 2 years. This next chart shows information about financial aid access. I'm not going to walk through all of this information that's in Charting the Course. I'll send this to you guys after we're done, and you can read it at your leisure. But basically, this was what the data that was requested led to last year. This year, however, it's not clear yet what the research is going to entail. So I think the funders have decided not to just do another version of Charting the Course, but there's various sort of ideas on the table about what kind of data to request from campuses, for what purposes. So, you know, so that's yet to be decided. However, that being said, it sounds like in your grant application, or in your grant agreement rather, there is a requirement that you be providing some data. So CalPASS Plus, and actually if you guys want to unmute for a minute and let me know Do any of you have access currently to CalPASS Plus? Is this a system that's at all familiar to you?
Yeah.
We do it Evergreen.
Okay, great. So CalPASS Plus, then, as you know, is the data system that is used by the community college chancellor's office to create different sort of interfaces in order to access and view data. So CalPASS Plus has all the data from all the community colleges. The data that you have put into your local system gets uploaded to the chancellor's office MIS, and then that in turn gets uploaded into the CalPASS Plus system. CalPASS Plus created a foster youth data dashboard specifically to be able to look at information just for the foster youth population. So only people who work at a college can access the CalPASS Plus data. So unfortunately, the folks over at Silicon Valley Children's Fund can't actually get their own login to this information, so they're going to rely on you folks from the colleges to be able to get this information. So it sounds like you guys already have a login, which is great. And if you don't, or if you need a login, I'll show you really quickly. So if you go to this is calpassplus.org, you go to community colleges, helpful reports, and then there's these different reports, one of which is the foster youth dashboard. If you don't already have access, you can click on this request access. And in this text box here, you want to write that you're specifically requesting access in order to look at the foster youth data dashboard. This will go to the folks at CalPASS Plus, and they will in turn email the folks at your institutional research office and say, is it okay for this person to have access? That person hopefully will say yes. You might want to give them a heads up that that request is going to be coming, and then that will enable you to have access. But we're going to go ahead and go in. So I'm going to go with my own login here. So this is the Community College Foster Youth Dashboard. So you can look at the information for all colleges, or you can look at it just for a specific college. So let's go ahead and look at Evergreen Valley College. There's 3 years worth of data in here, 12-13, 13-14, and now 14-15, which got added fairly recently. You can look for all students, first-time students, or continuing students. And I'm going to talk about this other stuff in a minute. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and click refresh, which is going to give us the data for just Evergreen Valley College. So there's a bunch of information here. So this is the number of foster youth on the college campus, 249 for 14-15. College preparedness tells you how many foster youth had to take remedial coursework. Of those who had to take remedial coursework, how many then completed a transfer level course. And you can compare the foster youth populations to the non-foster youth populations. You can look at information about financial aid. And if financial aid, it's not as relevant to do the comparison. What's more interesting is things like the fact that 85% of foster youth got a bog fee waiver and only 45% got a Pell Grant, which is actually what we're seeing. It's pretty typical across the board. And then information about, you don't have the information about 2 years worth of financial aid here. That's what's under the Equip tab. Enroll gives you percent that attend full time. Eventually, we're going to get information about those that have a student education plan. CalPASS Plus, in addition to having the community college data, also has information from some K-12 districts. And so there's some information about how many foster youth compared to non-foster youth enrolled within 12 months of high school graduation. And this first line tells you the number of foster youth for whom high school graduation information is available, and then of that subset, how many enrolled within 12 months. I'm going through this pretty quickly, but you can go in yourself and spend some more time with this if you haven't already. Earn, that's just a count. So earn tells you the percentage with a 2.0 or 3.0, successfully completing 30 or more units, 3 consecutive terms. We don't have this because we're looking at 14-15 data, but if we were to go, say, look at the 12-13 cohort, it would give you the percentage with 3 consecutive terms, and then the course completion rate. And the last one, embark, percentage of FOSS students who complete 9 or more units in a CTE program. And then there's some information about those that have completed degrees, which again, for this, because we're looking at 14-15, there's none of this yet, but if we go in and look at this for 12-13, you can see the number of degree and certificate completions for that cohort. So if what you're being asked for is baseline, essentially, data on the entire foster youth population, this is where you're going to pull this information from. Let me go back to 14-15, and they're supposed to be, they've made some changes to this, and there used to be a button that allowed you to export this into a spreadsheet, which I'm not seeing. So I will have to follow up with CalPASS Plus. It seems like they perhaps accidentally deleted the export button. So I will look into that, but you are supposed to be able to export this information to a spreadsheet. And I'll make sure that that gets put back in. So that's one set of data that is available through CalPASS Plus. It's this data for the entire foster youth population on the campus, and allows you to do a comparison of foster youth to non-foster youth. The second, and this is some brand new functionality, is you can now upload a list of participants in your program into CalPASS Plus and get data for just those program participants. In order to do that, you would use this upload data. And up here under template is where you get the template that you need to upload. So I'm going to go ahead and download that, open it up. It's basically an Excel spreadsheet, and it's got these codes at the top. So the information that you upload has to be in this exact format, which means most likely you will need to work with your institutional research folks to make sure that for student ID, for all this different information that's being asked for here, that you're getting the precise information so that it matches exactly to what's in CalPASS Plus. So you would create this list. So you'd have, student ID would be whatever it is, and for program name, you define this. So I don't know what you're calling your various programs, but I'll just say that they were calling it Guardian Scholars. And we've got Jack Smith. His birth date is January 1st. 98, etc. So you put this information, you'll have this list, and then you're going to say, you're going to upload for this year, academic year 2014-15, you'll find the file and you'll upload it. Now to give you an example of what that then will look like, there's only a couple of folks that have done this. So Butte College has their Inspiring Scholars program up here, so we're going to take a look at that. So when you're looking at a cohort data, what it's going to actually give you is foster youth students in the program and foster youth students not in the program. So those students in their program, they've got 62 students that they've uploaded as part of their Inspiring Scholars program. 100% of them are getting financial aid as compared to 85% of foster youth not in the program. And you can see these comparisons for all the different metrics. And again, there should be a button here that allows you to export this into a spreadsheet. And so that's where you get your data from. So in terms of what you have to do in order to access the data, it's pretty straightforward. You don't have to do any of your own individual tracking beyond tracking who's participating in your program that you'll want to upload for this cohort piece. From there, you just go on the CalPASS Plus and get the data. Now, the one piece that you do have to make sure that you're on top of is how your foster youth are flagged. This is the one place where you as the college do have to do some work. And so maybe if you guys want to unmute, do you know, let's see, I'm seeing a question coming in from Tina. Is the data that you entered for the example the minimum fields that need to be entered? Yes. You have to, going back to that template, you have to have this information, the organizational code, student ID, time code, program name, like I said, you define first name, last name, birth date, and gender. So you have to have all of this information, and you shouldn't have anything other than this information. You should just have a list with exactly these fields in order to do the upload. So Cam and Michelle, do you know how the foster youth checkbox that's in your MIS system is currently populated? Have you done any work on that yet?
Yes, from my understanding, there's a couple of ways. One, when the student fills out the application for the college, there's a place they can indicate that they are foster youth. That's one. The other place is in financial aid. They have a mechanism for determining if students are foster youth. So it's through those two areas that the data comes in.
That's great. Some colleges rely solely on the application and don't use the financial aid data. And so that's great that you're using both sources. That's what we recommend. You just want to make sure, maybe you already feel confident in this, but you just want to make sure that those two sources are actually being used to populate the flag in MIS that identifies somebody as a foster youth for the purposes of this CalPASS Plus data dashboard, because some campuses they might have different places that foster youth are being flagged. So they might have a flag that's specifically for priority registration that Admissions and Records uses, which might be a different field than the quote-unquote official foster youth flag that's used by CalPASS Plus. So you just want to make sure that both those sources, the financial aid data and the application data, are being used to populate the correct foster youth flag. The other thing I recommend is that if it's possible for you guys to get access to be able to look and see who is being flagged as a foster youth, as you're working with students, you can look them up and see if they're flagged. And if you come across somebody who's not flagged, you want to make sure that you go in and manually flag them if they haven't been flagged through one of the other mechanisms.
Yes, and one of the things we're working on now is to double check to make sure that that data is accurate.
Great, perfect.
Discussions that we've been having. And yes, we should have the ability to flag someone that have originally been flagged. Yeah, I'm writing that down.
So, that's basically it in a nutshell. Now, do you know precisely what YALI is requesting from you for data, or is it fairly vague at this point, what you've asked for?
Well, to me, it seems kind of vague, but we track certain things anyway for our foster youth students. We track their persistence from term to term. We track their GPAs. We track their, or we have the ability to track whether or not they are making satisfactory academic progress. We track their completion of each course and their success rates within their courses. So those are some things we track anyway, along with graduation and transfer rates.
Okay. So the goal is for you guys to be able to pull all that information out of CalPASS Plus so that you don't have to be manually tracking it. And also so that, you know, if information gets pulled from CalPASS Plus in the aggregate, you know, for the state and that kind of thing, that there's confidence that that information is accurate, you know, that you're not relying on some separate source of information that you're using outside of what's in the MIS system and in CalPASS Plus. So it could be interesting for you to take a look at what you've tracked manually and take a look at what's in CalPASS and see if they match up. And if they don't, you'll then do some troubleshooting to figure out, because you want that CalPASS Plus data to be accurate, because, you know, when we did charting the course, what ended up happening is the researchers just went in and downloaded the data straight out of CalPASS Plus. So there wasn't even an opportunity for a college to say, no, you know, we want you to use the data that we keep separately or something like that. It was just assumed that, you know, everybody was told, we're going to use CalPASS Plus data. You need to make sure that that data is accurately reflecting what's going on your campus. So the more you can start to kind of rely on the CalPASS Plus system, I think the better, you know, in terms of making sure that it's accurate, because that's most likely when we do get to the point of using this data for some future research project, it's most likely going to just be whatever comes out of CalPASS Plus.
Okay.
So Debbie,
so you know,
yeah. Sorry. So what we had is, I think you had helped us get some information about what kind of data that we should be collecting, and then Sherry and I tried to basically simplify that, and we shared that with the colleges. But that's as far as we got. I mean, I guess it was the basic information. We could share that document with you. Now, would it be Yali that would? I was assuming that Yali was trying to make sure that we capture the data that would be useful to John Burton as well. So would it be helpful if we circulated that to you to make sure that we're capturing, or is it something I should just go through Yali on?
So, you know, when it comes to what's useful to us, we're not going to be requesting individual manually collected data. We're going to be using what's in CalPASS Plus.
Yeah.
And, you know, we're from our perspective, we're really trying to get people to move away from manually collecting data and rather, you know, identifying cohorts of students that can be uploaded into this new cohort tool and pulling the data this way. Now, there is, you know, one of the disadvantages of CalPASS Plus is that there's a time delay. And so, you know, like 15, 16 data, it takes a few months before the data gets into the system. And so if Yali's asking you for more real-time information, then that is something you'd have to track separately for her. But if she's asking you for information, essentially for the purposes of what's going to be useful to the John Burton Foundation in our research efforts, that really is going to be just you guys making sure that the information in CalPASS Plus is accurate.
Okay.
And, you know, the hope was with CalPASS Plus, it would make you guys' life easier, you know, that you wouldn't have to be doing all this manual tracking of what's going on with the students, that, you know, you can just easily download information off CalPASS Plus and, you know, boom, 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 click export, and you're done.
Okay.
And it also allows you to use this dashboard so that you have this kind of nice interface for you to be able to see what's going on in the aggregate.
So what I'm hearing is that really kind of the main goal is to make sure like this data is reflective of the information that the campuses are collecting, right, or that the campuses have access to. And it's probably just make for each campus to go back to their institutional research department, maybe cross-reference lists and make sure that students who are, you know, foster youth are actually being captured in the CalPASS Plus data, and that there's not any being left out that should be included.
Right, exactly.
Okay, that's good. That's good.
You know, and I don't know, I mean, I don't know if Yali's intention at some point is to have you provide her with your cohort program participant data and compare it to the foster youth data and, you know, judge you based on that. You know, that's kind of her. I have no idea sort of the extent to which she's intending or not intending to do that. So, you know, you might want to ask her if she's got specific expectations, not just about the data being submitted, but about what the data is going to show. Okay. You know. Do you have in your grant agreement, are there specific goals and objectives that like X percentage of program participants will have a 2.0 GPA, or like, is there anything like that?
No, not around GPAs or not around unit completion. Right now it's around like building out a comprehensive, sustainable program.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
well, you guys beginning stages if we
correct
premature. Yeah.
You noticed on the accountability standards that we were given by the Walter S. Johnson Foundation, it does just say enter and collect reliable data about the number of foster youth on campus and their academic standing. And then activity A, requirement to enter data into CalPASS foster youth, dashboard included in the MOU and college partners by January 16. And then Silicon Valley Children's Fund will complete an assessment for the data cleanup process by December. And then colleges will enter data in the CalPASS Plus foster youth dashboard by March 2016. Yeah.
And entering data is a bit of a misnomer. It's not that you're entering data, it's that you're verifying that your foster youth flag is accurate.
Correct. Now that we're in there and we see what it is, yes, that does sound more accurate, right? To make sure it's that foster youth are being flagged appropriately and captured fully.
Exactly. Yeah.
Mainly it's just making sure that the accurate data is collected and is reliable.
Yeah.
And, you know, make sure there's validity to the data that's in CalPASS.
Exactly.
Correct. And how difficult would it be for you guys on the campuses to, you know, work with the institutional research department or whomever is inputting the data into CalPASS Plus to like cross-reference those lists, right? If you had your list from financial aid and admissions and records, and then you went and looked at, you know, the list that had been uploaded to CalPASS Plus, I guess how difficult would it be to like do that type of work?
Not very difficult. We actually on our campus had a meeting last week with discussions about data and the data needs of each program. And so the person that we'll be working with was identified for us, and then we're meeting with her. Once we met with you all to get this information, we're now going to meet with her to follow up and make sure that we're all working together and making sure that the data is accurate.
Okay, awesome.
And then, you know, with Evergreen, Ying Feng's in charge of that with our institutional research, and she's been attending our meetings, and she's not on the call today, but we'll definitely make sure that she listens in and just make sure that our data is refined and cross-referenced with financial aid and CCC apply. Yeah.
Awesome. And Debbie, I have a quick question for you around and maybe you guys on the campuses can let me know how if you capture this piece of data. So in addition to foster youth who are in foster care through the state and through the counties here in California, there's also youth who are in federal foster care through the Federal Refugee Foster Care Program. Do you guys differentiate those youth, or should they, or can they be included in these counts?
Oh man, that's a question I've never heard before. You know, the way that the Chancellor's Office defines foster youth for the purposes of flagging them in the system is very broad.
Okay,
It's having been in foster care at any point, anywhere, basically at any age. And so I would say yes, you know, you would want to go ahead and flag them for the purposes of this. You know, this is being flagged in the system as a foster youth doesn't equate to getting party registration or Casey grants or, you know, anything like that. That all requires different verification. And so the direction has generally been to cast the net wide when flagging for this purpose.
Got it. Perfect. Thank you.
You guys have any other questions or anything?
Not right now. We may have questions after we go back and talk to our researcher and kind of have those.
Yeah. And feel free to email me, call me. You know, I'm totally available to help out if other things come up.
The other thing too, this particular call should be recorded. Would that mean available? For example, I'll go back and share my notes with Sheila, but I'm sure Sheila would want to look at this presentation. Would there be a way for her to be able to access it?
Yeah, what I'll do actually is I'm going to go ahead once the call is done and upload the recording of this to YouTube, and I'll send you a link.
Oh, great. Fantastic. Thank you.
Yeah, can you send us the link at Evergreen too, please?
Yes. Do I have? I'm hoping I have everybody's email. I think it was on the email that was sent out confirming the call. So I'll just reply to everybody that was on that with the link.
Okay, and then I'll forward it to Sheila.
All right, well, if there's not any other questions, hopefully this addressed what you were hoping it would.
Yeah, well, thank you, Debbie. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, definitely. And like I said, feel free, let me know if anything else comes up.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Am I on mute, you guys?
Nope, we can hear you.
Oh, you can hear? Okay, sorry. So thanks, Debbie. Really appreciate it. And then for the Dianza folks and for the Evergreen folks, I'll talk to you guys offline. We do have the deadline of the end of the month. If we feel that we need to extend it out a week, we have a little bit of flexibility, but we can talk about how much work is involved and what kind of timeline is feasible. So thanks for all that, and thanks everybody for making the call.
Okay, thank you.
Take care.
Bye.
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 Bye.